Welcome to the Angel Rewatch, a spoiler-free retrospective podcast on Angel. I'm William.
And I'm Derek, and this is a podcast for Epiphany, originally airing February 27, 2001, written by Tim Minear. So it turns out that Angel's drama queen gas is nothing more than that. He stumbles out to the balcony in a thunderstorm, but he hasn't lost his soul. He stands up and he thanks Darla for saving him and tells her he's sorry. Even though they had the sex, really good sex, he still has a soul. It wasn't perfect happiness, though. It was perfect despair. Darla isn't too happy about this, and when Angel turns his back, she tries to stake him. He stops her and tells her if she isn't gone by the time he gets back, he will kill her. Angel then rushes to save Kate. The door is locked and shut, and she lies on the ground. Angel busts open the door and runs over to Kate. She's still breathing, so he takes her to the shower, and she sputters and wakes up. She thanks him, and then tells him to get out. Angel goes to the host. The host immediately senses that Angel has had sex, but then Angel wants advice on what he's supposed to do next. The host tells him that he may not be able to fix it, but if he wants his connection to the powers that be back, he has to find his friends. It should now be mentioned that Cordelia is being held unconscious by the demons that killed the Blonde family from 2 episodes ago in the last episode. They're not happy that Angel Investigations killed their spawn, the third eye thingy, and they want revenge. The demons go to attack Wesley, but just before they break in, Angel shows up and saves him. They momentarily bond over not dying until Wesley remembers that he's angry at Angel. Speaking of people being angry at Angel, Lindsay is at his most ridiculous. He is super pissed at Darla's love with Angel. Darla thankfully doesn't care too much about Lindsay's feelings anyway. But then Lindsay stomps to his closet and takes out cowboy boots. This scene actually happens. I cannot stress how stupid this is enough. Lindsay's way of coping with extreme anger is to wear cowboy boots. Anyway, Wesley, realizing who the demons are because of their third eyes, leaps into action. Or more accurately, wheels into action. They meet up with Gunn and discover that Cordelia has gone missing and must be held captive. Meanwhile, Angel keeps trying to tell them that he had an epiphany, and they keep not caring. On the way to save Cordelia, they are ambushed. Angel stops the car and tells them to go on without him. He'll hold off the demons until they can save Cordelia. This seems like a real heroic moment until the demons run away. Creepiest and Murder Eye and Third Eye they might be, but even they are repelled by Lindsay. Lindsay runs Angel down in a beat-up truck and is dressed hick as hell. He starts beating on Angel, ordering him to tell him how he slept with Darla. He wants all the details. After suffering through blows, Angel gets up, tells Lindsay he's sorry as he beats him up, and then steals Lindsay's truck. Wesley and Gunn are quickly taken hostage, and things look dire. Angel, of course, shows up and saves them and everything as well. Except Cordelia still hates him, and that family is super dead. At the Hyperion, Kate has apparently gotten over being mad at Angel for saving her life. She tells him she doesn't know what she's going to do next, but thanks to him, it will be something. Angel tells her he finally figured it out, though. Nothing does matter. But if nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do. Kate's impressed, but she tells Angel she doesn't think they're alone in this world. She never did invite him into her house. At Angel Investigations, Cordelia, Wesley, and Gunn are recovering from their ordeal. Angel shows up and tells them he doesn't want them to work for him again. He wants to work for them. Cordelia tells him no until she has a vision, and he catches her. She then decides that maybe it's not the worst thing if he drives. And that's the end of the episode.
Lindsay.
I cannot stress how much I love Lindsay in this episode. And by love, I mean it's terrible.
It is.
It is the most ridiculous thing on a show that's had gypsy curses, Nazi demons, and zombie cops. The fact that Lindsay... I have so many questions about the costuming. My theory now, and we've pissed on Christian Kane enough, so why stop now? But my theory is, I'm not sure if it's written in the script, but I hope that what happened was, just because of that music video, it was there that he's going to beat up Angel, and he's like, no guys, I got this. I got the perfect outfit to do this. And he goes into his closet, and he gets the big coat and the white beater and the cowboy boots and the truck that's from Oklahoma for some reason. I don't know why Lindsay has that truck. He just gets in there and starts talking with a southern twang. I don't know, but I love it. I love that he busts down Angel, and then he spins around him on the street, and then he starts to beat him with a shovel.
He wants all the details.
He wants all the details so he can think about it later and cry while he pleasures himself. I don't know why. I don't know why. It feels like a completely different episode. And in a way that works, because Lindsay has cast himself as Darla's like romantic savior hero, that they're some kind. He thinks he's like in some kind of Nicholas Sparks novel when it comes to Darla, and that's what the scene feels out of. So in that way it works, but in the way that I have to watch it, it's just terrible.
Yeah, it's the most pathetic we've ever seen Lindsay.
And the thing is that he overacts so much that even as ridiculous as the actual situation is, he just makes it that much worse.
Right. I mean...
And he's not a master thespian to begin with.
Well, that's true. Oh, God. Like, him huffing about in his apartment.
No,
when he
first runs him down and he goes, "Argh!" He screams as he does it. Just stop.
It's like one of those nauseating head, like you just shake your head. Like in the apartment, the entire time, all I could think was like, Darla, eat him, just kill him.
As I
now.
told you, I think his problem is that Darla will not eat him, and that's why he's so upset.
He just wants Angel to sleep with him.
He wants somebody to sleep with him. Here's the thing, though. I don't know if they've done just such a great job with Darla or they've done such a terrible job with Lindsay. It's probably both. But the soulless evil vampire is more sympathetic and human to me than the conflicted lawyer about he doesn't know if he wants to be good or bad. Because in that scene, which just Lindsay is over the top and ridiculous, but it really begins to get, it's just sympathetic to me that Darla feels like she's been used again.
Right.
And so we could, I mean, let's just leave Lindsay aside because I feel like he's a weird outlier in this episode that I really like. Even though he is terrible and I can't ignore it. But
no, you can't ignore the Lindsay.
But let's just leave him aside for now. Darla's reaction to the fact that she slept with Angel and he is not evil. And she feels used by that.
Yeah.
And that was really surprisingly sympathetic to me.
Right. It's something that was really impressive. Like, we've seen vampires have human emotions before. Mm-hmm. And so I'm always caught off guard. Like, it's always interesting to see them have human emotions and whatever kind of twisted way that is.
Yeah.
But this, like, she really felt human in that moment.
Yeah. And I talked about Reprise before when she says, I think that Reprise is a replay or a homage to Surprise when Angel first lost his soul. But I think it's also in here too when Darla asked Angel if she wasn't good, which is the same thing that Buffy asks him when he's jealous and he's evil. Right,
and they even have him going out into the
rain, shirtless,
with the shirt open. Yeah, like
that's a very convenient thunderstorm, honestly.
And where does it go? It just leaves right after that. Like,
it's just so Angel can have his dramatic moment.
Every time Angel has sex, thunderstorms appear on the horizon.
That's how good he is. Because apparently it was really good. It was perfect. Darla done this professionally, and that was perfect. Yeah.
3 times.
3 times. She did, and he did.
Oh, God.
But no, the fact that she is really she's torn up, because the whole thing since she's become a vampire is, again, she wants the power, because she'd been used by Wolfram Hart, and she'd been used before, and she leaves the show now for the time being used again. There is something really sad about that for a soulless vampire who snapped an innocent store clerk's neck because her shoes didn't fit or whatever. The service was really bad there just because she felt like it.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, she seems different than the Darla we had before.
No, I think, yes.
In the flashbacks.
I think her being human again changed her now.
And, yeah, it feels that way. There's still that perversion of her being a vampire, mm-hmm. but there's something very human and relatable. And the fact that she feels just kind of used afterwards.
When she tells Lindsay that the ring was her payment.
Yeah.
There's a real power to that line and the way she delivers it. And then Lindsay ruins it by just being Lindsay.
Right. Oh, God. Yeah. The less we could say about Lindsay, the better.
One more thing.
Oh, okay.
When he takes the cowboy boots out, because they kind of don't show you exactly, but you can see that they're cowboy boots. The first thing I thought of was the SNL skit about the wishing boot. And I thought, I knew they weren't going there because I would have remembered it, but I kind of wish they did. That it was the wishing boot that he took out, and he just wished the whole thing away. But no, it's just that he dresses up as a dick to go beat Angel up in the street.
I just needed more shots of, like, Darla rolling her eyes.
I'm surprised it took her this long to get out of there. That she even goes back to Lindsay's apartment.
Like, you know what's bad? She's gotten so messed up by this event that she doesn't just kill Lindsay.
Mm-hmm. That's the other thing, too, that she's just kind of heartbroken about it, that she can't even murder.
Like, she humors Lindsay
mm-hmm.
enough to tell him details.
Well, she doesn't tell him details.
Well,
she just says, I don't. She never.
I think they imply that they talked because later Lindsay says, "I want to hear." Like, she told me, "I want to hear it from you."
Oh,
now.
She did. Because I thought she didn't seem to want to tell him, and then they cut away to. I just assumed that they hadn't talked and they were just sulking on that couch together.
I mean, maybe it's not specifically clear. I just remember Lindsay saying,
"Well, he really wants those details."
Right.
So I just assumed he had gotten them from Darla. Anyway, let's just forget about him. So Angel has his soul still.
Right.
Which I think is the right move, because I don't think they should have made him Angelus yet. And
no.
What?
Well, no, I don't think they should have made him Angelus, and I think it's interesting. I think it's more interesting.
Yeah.
The fact that he can have sex.
Well, he just has to be really sad when he does it. Like, here's my theory. If he had sex with Buffy again, after, I think he would have been so worried about losing his soul that he wouldn't have achieved that perfect happiness. That's just the second time. I think the third time, they're screwed. Like, there's no future to that relationship. Because eventually he will have perfect happiness at some point if they stay together long enough. But I think the second time, if he had done it, he would have been so consumed by guilt and worry that it wouldn't have happened. So I like it to be confirmed in this episode. It's not just that he completes, it's that he has to do it under certain conditions.
Yeah, like a perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be kind of like a once-in-a-lifetime special kind of event.
I mean, we had that once in season 1 where Wesley explains it's not that Angel had sex, it's that he was with Buffy.
Right.
And we haven't really gone back to that. But it's nice to get it confirmed here. That just because he has sex with Darla doesn't mean that he's always going to lose his soul. And he really wants to tell people that he has sex with Darla.
I know, he's like oddly proud about it.
Well, I really do love Angel in this episode a lot. Because, and I do think it's another great job by David Boreanaz, that once we get over the misdirection that he's losing his soul, he starts to carry himself and acts very differently than he's been acting, and he's back to the goofy, dorky, lovable Angel that they discovered in season 1 and hasn't been in hasn't really been in season 2 at all.
Right.
And I really do like his attempts to ingratiate himself with his friends again, and he's so bad at it.
Yeah, it is. The awkward car ride.
There's several awkward car rides, but and Wesley doesn't care. And then I really love the line when Gunn doesn't completely believe him on the Epiphany thing, or he thinks he might change back, because why wouldn't he? But then you just wake up and bang, and Angel says, it was actually the other way around.
The other way around.
And he has a dorky grin on his face, and no one else finds it funny.
No one asks, like, anything about it. They're just like, whatever.
Guess who stabbed me? Darla. Oh, okay. I really love that he's back to being Angel, and the fact that they don't accept him right away, and they shouldn't. Right.
So it's so interesting, like last episode, that we had the moment where Angel comes in to get the book.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he's finally hit that rock bottom, and for him to just kind of like bounce up and try and be friendly and goofy with all these people that he was so threatening to earlier.
Mm. I guess we should talk about, is it believable to you that he makes this quick of a turnaround?
Well, okay, I like the moment with the host a lot.
Because he's not complete. He is still a little bit. There's hints of Hoodie Angel or Gray Angel in that scene. He gets rather angry. I think they just wanted him to have a little comic relief, to be goofy because of how dark last week was. Well, I mean, do you buy that he sleeps with Darla, and do you buy that he has this epiphany? Does that work for you?
Well, he keeps on spouting that I've had an epiphany.
Mm-hmm.
Once they work up to the last bit with Kate, I buy it. I don't think he does make a really quick turnaround.
Because for me, it does. Okay, go on.
Because the fact that, like, he's still super dark when he, like, tells Darla, get out or I'll kill you.
I actually would disagree. Well, when he tells her he will kill her, he's actually, the way he delivers that line is a lot different than he would have delivered it last week. Because he's kind of sad about it. There's not a whole lot of aggression when he says, get out or I will have to kill you. If last week he would have really gotten in her face about it, but he's just kind of sad about it, that this is just what he has to do because she's a vampire and that's the right thing to do. As opposed to the dark revenge thing that he was going for before. Because I think the reason it works for me is there's kind of the traditional sense that last week he hits the fact that there's stories about people hitting rock bottom and bouncing back up. Or last week in the elevator, they go, for whatever reason, they go through hell and then they end up in the same place. But that kind of suggests that it's a hero going to the underworld and in the underworld finding something important about themselves and coming out different. And that's what him going into the elevator, coming out, having sex with Darla is this kind of underworld crucible sort of thing. So it works for me that he comes out of that completely changed. And he has this epiphany.
Right. I think the host scene helps that transition a lot. I also find that scene really entertaining. You're like, oh, maybe I should have staked her, given her cab fare, whatever.
Well, I do like when they talk about the powers and Angel gets kind of petty about it, that they should have been more obvious when they kind of were, and he just wasn't listening.
Like giving Cordelia multiple visions for him to go the opposite direction.
Talking about giving Cordelia visions, why do they... I think, actually, it's purposely... They chose the worst moment to give her a vision when she's in the house, because I think they want her to be there so Angel can save her.
They want to damsel her?
Yeah. And I don't think the episode works quite as well if it's not Cordelia they're going to save, because if it's Wesley or whatever, Cordelia is not going to accept Angel's help as much as Wesley and Gunn do.
Right.
So
I mean, we saw that whenever he went to visit Wesley in the Thin Dead Line.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she told him to stay away. Like, I don't think it's unfortunate that Cordelia has to be saved, but I think it's a different episode if she is not the one they're trying to save. Because Angel and Cordelia were the two closest, and she's been the one most hurt by him, and she's the one that doesn't want to be around him. So the fact that they're working together to save her makes the episode... It's a different episode if Cordelia is with Angel the entire time. Because she won't... I find it harder to believe that she would accept him as easily as Wesley does. And Wesley really only accepts him because he can't do much else. Because he's in the wheelchair.
Well, yeah, okay. It puts him in a situation where he has to have his help because he's in a wheelchair. Mm-hmm. Where Cordelia could be more like, I'll just do it myself kind of thing. But I don't know. I did have a problem with her being the damsel in distress.
No, she doesn't do a whole lot. And I'm okay with it, but I don't think it's necessary. I think they could have made it work where she isn't the one that needs to be saved and she's working with him. I think that's a more interesting episode. And I think adding Cordelia into anything is just better. But I understand why they did it.
Right. Yeah.
I think there's an actual purpose to it besides the fact that when there's other damsels, it's just because, I don't know, they're women and whatever. There don't seem to be a real purpose behind it. This seems to have some actual purpose.
It has purpose. I think it would have been more interesting if flipped.
No, I think it would have been more interesting, but I also think it's a different episode.
That's probably true.
Because you don't have... Because Angel is trying to get their friendship back, and if it... Like, they don't want to listen to... Wesley and Gunn don't want to listen to him, but Cordelia just would ignore him outright, and then he'd have to... I think he'd have to try to help without interacting with them.
Right. So and there is something about Angel having a more personal need to save Cordelia. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that it is Cordelia, there was a very personal connection between him and her. Like she became that confidant once Doyle died. So
I mean, he even goes to her house first.
Right.
She's not there. We don't see
There's something about it being Cordelia. Yeah. Right.
And when they go to save her, it's not the first time he smiles because he's totally smiling, trying to be their friend again. But he's really concerned about her, and not in a way he wasn't concerned about Wesley because he gets there right before Wesley to save Wesley. But he's so concerned that she's all right, and we haven't seen that kind of tenderness from him in quite a while.
Right. That. Like that smile that he gives or whatever at the end of the episode, like the last time I can remember it happening was when he was going in his broody self, and then Cordelia like makes a joke, and like he can't help but smile when he's around her.
Yeah.
So there's something about that relationship that brings the most human out of Angel.
And I think it works now that it's not good, even though he's had this epiphany or whatever. It's not going to be that they immediately accept him. It's that he's going to work for them, and I think they can mine interesting situations out of trying to mend the Cordelia and Angel relationship moving forward, because they really need to do something with Cordelia at this point. Right.
I agree. I also liked how defensive Gunn was in this episode. Before all of this, I would have felt like, Gunn was the outsider. He had more of a connection. I mean, he kind of is, but he had more of a connection with Angel than the other two. Mm-hmm. And for that to be kind of flipped, and him to be so protective of the other two, I thought worked really well.
Yeah, I like that Angel is surprised that Gunn and Wesley are so close, even though Wesley is the whitest person ever doing that handshake.
So I see you've bonded.
Yeah. But he's become kind of like Wesley and Cordelia's sort of big brother. And he's still not, I mean, I don't think he's personally hurt by Angel. but he's grown so close to these two that he doesn't want to see them hurt. So that's what I really like when he thinks the Epiphany, and it could be that the Epiphany is just a temporary thing as much as him becoming Dark Angel.
Right.
Because he doesn't know Angel as well, and all he knows is that he has these weird mood shifts where he murders people.
Right, and the fact that he is a vampire.
Yeah, and he still doesn't fully trust him because he's a vampire. So I really like Gunn in this episode. I really like that Wesley doesn't care that Angel's there. I really like the moment when Angel saves Wesley's life, and there's a moment where it's just like they were before, and then Wesley remembers that, no, I'm still mad at you.
Yeah, and his face gets all...
Yeah.
It drops.
Mm-hmm.
And they find, some nice little comedic beats, like him shotgunning one of the demons and getting covered in goop. And
yeah, I hope he still has some money from Virginia. Because that's not going to end well. So, is there anything else besides Kate that we haven't talked about?
Well, so how did you feel about the Skilosh demons, or whatever? They're
creepy. The third eye is creepy.
Right.
Do I feel that Cordelia is in any kind of real danger? No, not really. And I'm not... It comes up in feedback. Do we need to see Cordelia get a third eye in the back of her head? And I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I think the fact that we do, it creates an uneasiness in me that I think is effective because I feel more stakes in her getting saved because I don't ever feel that her life is in danger. But having the third eye in the back of her head is such a violation, and it does raise the stakes of that situation a bit.
Right, it puts a clock on the episode.
Yeah. And if they hadn't done it, then they're all just bark and no bite. Like, if they had threatened to do it, but they're not going to do it, then I think they lose a lot of their impact. The fact that they do it right away, and they're about to do it to Gunn and Wesley, if Angel doesn't show up at that exact moment.
Right.
But I understand the fact that Cordelia gets violated again, and we have to see it.
They even comment on the demon impregnation from expecting.
Yes.
And
the first thing that would come to my mind is not that it's... I mean, it is, but if they hadn't made that line... If they hadn't made that joke, then the line for me would not have been connected that it's another demonic pregnancy that she's suffering through. It's a violation, but the fact that they have to make that joke, I think that makes it more unsavory than it would have been otherwise. But it's still a violation.
It's still uneasy. I'm not thrilled with it. Again, it might have been better if it had been Wesley, but again, it would have been a very different episode. The fact that they have to do it, because it puts a clock on it, mm-hmm. so that it's a race to get to her, makes sense.
And it's not like... The real problem with Expecting, though, was that she became completely passive and had no real say in what was going on. Right. Here, she remains Cordelia throughout. She just is stuck and held captive. Like, she still has her spunky Cordelia attitude.
Right.
So I think that helps things. But I don't think it's an ideal situation.
Right. I like the fact that this storyline has been present in the previous 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm. What I don't like is that they killed that family, and there's very little impact to that.
Right.
Like, we just see their bodies, and that's a shocking image, but they never go back to it.
And there's something lacking about that. The fact that it takes sting out of it takes some air out of the episode. Like, you've had the storylines stick around, but these demons feel very case of the week.
Mm-hmm. Well, they've been for the past 3 episodes, but they've been in the background.
Right.
So, again, this Gilosh or whatever, just something that Angel needs to save, and I think having him save Cordelia is the most effective because it's the one he's the closest to.
Right. I agree.
Anything else? I think we're just on Kate now, aren't we?
Yeah,
Kate and the speech. So, with your medical knowledge, should a shower save her from all the pills she's taken?
I honestly don't know. This is something we see in TV quite a bit.
That cold showers solve everything.
Apparently. I'm not exactly sure the medical reasoning behind it. Something I'd have to look into. But
well, she's still breathing. I think it's that if she goes to sleep, I don't know. If she goes to sleep, then she drifts away and she's gone.
Right.
But I do actually. It makes sense to me that she tells him to get out. Doesn't make entirely that much sense that she shows up at the Hyperion. No. But I think from where she is, that she says thank you, but then get out.
Yeah, well, both of those characters have kind of hit rock bottom. And, it was kind of, to start off the beginning of the episode when he starts remembering the fact that she called him last night, was very dark, the fact that he was just like, let's go have sex with Darla. But
it wasn't it was, I can't deal with this right now, I'm going to go have sex with Darla.
I'm going to go try and commit
suicide. Soul
suicide.
Yeah, his goal is to just do the same thing. He doesn't care about anything at that point.
Right.
So I don't think it's not to say he just didn't care about Kate. And honestly, did we care about Kate at the end of the last episode, besides the fact that it's a human committing suicide and that's sad? Do you care? Would you care if she had died? Besides that she's a person.
It's weird to have the lines of you'll care and you'll feel all sad, or you won't. It's kind of like she's talking to the audience.
Yeah, I think she's definitely talking. I think there's a lot of commentary about where Kate is as a character and her lines in this episode. Especially at the end, before we get to all Angel's speech, which she says that she was a cop for so long and she doesn't know what she's going to do after this.
Yeah.
Because the character has such identity issues anyway.
She has identity issues. The fact that she's been so unlikable and she hasn't been doing very good things. It's sad that character can be so damaged from her portrayal, and the fact that Angel has done all this terrible stuff, but because he's the main character, we're all behind him.
That's different.
I know.
The Angel stuff has been written much better than Kate's damage has been self-inflicted, that they've just jumped all over with her. It's not that she's had a steady decline. If she had just had a steady decline, that'd be something different. It's that she jumps over and she doesn't make any sense and she's just weird
and irrational.
Yes. And I don't want to say it for a lot of these episodes, but I do think we should comment about the fact that this is the last time we will see Kate in the show and in the universe, because the comics don't exist to me and I don't care what you say. But this is the last time we see Kate. And I think that there is something sad about that, but I understand that they haven't made her work, so why try? Right.
But getting her, the ending moment is probably one of the best moments in the show.
And it gets overshadowed by the speech, but I do like that she does get an okay send-off, that she's going to go search for who she is now. And thanks to Angel, she has that chance. That's a nice moment for us to leave with her.
Right. She became one of the helpless that he needed to save. And it was one of the first good things he's done in a really long time.
Yes. So we can talk about the speech now, which I think the speech is so prevalent in the fandom that I think it does lose its impact on Rewatch because you've heard it so many times, but just the fact that its popularity is warranted because it is very good.
It is very good. It's one of the best things Joss has written.
Well, Joss didn't write it, so he didn't write this episode.
He didn't write this episode.
I don't know who wrote the speech, but Tim, and
I don't know,
credited with writing the episode. So let's just say that he wrote it.
Okay, let's say he just wrote the speech.
Well, why are you saying Joss wrote it?
I thought I'd heard that he had wrote the speech.
Okay, well, it's the best. It's one of. Let's just say it's one of the best things in the Buffy verse. I would say.
Yeah.
So there's that. But whereas Holland's speech wasn't particularly deep, or I mean, it wasn't particularly complex physiologically. This isn't that complex either. But I think in its simplicity, there is something very powerful about it. That the world seems terrible, and it seems like nothing does matter, but the actions of a few can affect the world, even if it doesn't seem that way.
Right. And that, like...
It just stands for what the show has become in a really nice way, in a really simplistic and sort of beautiful way.
Yeah, it's really eloquent.
Yeah.
Like, the fact... Yeah. There's some real beauty behind it that... Like the smallest, like I really do love the smallest act of kindness. There's something so profound about the whole speech, and everyone just gravitates towards the very easy. If nothing we do matters, all that matters is what we do. But that whole speech works really well.
Well, there isn't much to it besides if nothing we do matters. It's just I figured it out. Nothing matters. If nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do. That is most of the speech, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it's the build up to it, and it's the end of it. And it really does have a real world applications. I'm not sure if the clip originates with The Daily Show, or I know I saw it on The Daily Show, but in Russia when they were going, there was the news story about, it was in the news how the gay discrimination, and they talked to some woman, and she said it comes from your American TV show Angel, if nothing we do matter, which the audience laughed, because when you hear she's going to spout something from Angel, that's not the first thing that you would think would come to your mouth if you're not aware of it. But it really does apply, because then she says if nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do. And you wouldn't expect it, just not having any prior knowledge about the show or watched it at all, you wouldn't expect something like that to come out of it. But it does, and I think that's the credit to what Buffy is and what Angel is. Like, they sound silly, but there is real depth to what they're talking about.
It's kind of the reason we're doing this rewatch.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? That the show does have legs even after all these years, that there is stuff that we can really talk about and mine from.
I mean, it's still... Angel, I feel, is still not as well respected as Buffy, and I don't think Buffy is that well respected, but I think they both deserve to be. Because they are inherently silly shows. It's called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's Angel about a vampire with a soul cursed by gypsies. There's inherent silliness to it. But in the inherent silliness, there's also a real power, like this speech. Right.
And they're able to tackle big things even in their goofy way. Like the fact that we've been on this. He's been dealing with depression this entire season,
and he tried to commit suicide. It wasn't successful, and so did Kate.
Right. And the fact that they could have this moment, I thought, it's really wonderful. Mm-hmm.
So do you want to talk about the fact that maybe his speech is kind of actually fruitless because there seems to be a greater power behind it?
Right. Well,
not fruitless, but he might actually be wrong in what he's saying.
Right. The show it's the most atheistic.
Oh, well, the speech is very atheistic.
Which they immediately undercut, which is a nice moment, and also implies...
Well, I don't know. Undercut seems to be the wrong word, but they contradict it.
Right.
But not in a way that robs that speech of any... Because it's up to interpretation. If the powers that be really did, or something out there, let Angel into that apartment.
Right. It is... Yeah, purposefully contradicting. It has implications of there being more to the show Angel than the speech. Like the speech puts a focus on the show of helping the helpless and helping one person at a time and being kind of selfless. But the fact that he was able to get in, there can still be bigger stories mined from all this.
Well, that's the fact that maybe the world isn't as terrible a place as
maybe it's not.
Like maybe they're not alone.
Yeah, maybe it's not hell on earth.
Maybe if nothing, maybe. Well, I'm trying to, because it's so many negatives. Maybe something does matter. Nothing. It's not that nothing matters what they do.
Right.
Something might actually matter. And I do like that they don't. Kate says it, and they just leave it there, and they don't really confirm or deny. So you're able to take, if you want to see it as the powers that be are some kind of good religious force that exists all over, then you can. Or if you want to see it as it's humanity and people's actions that create the good in the world, and there's no kind of supernatural force behind it, you can say it that way too.
Right.
All right. I don't have much more to say about this besides feedback.
Yeah, I think we can move on to feedback.
Okay.
All right. So first up in feedback, we have Kanam, and he says, sometimes it's not worth trying to come up with a snappy intro. Let's just get to 3 things about Epiphany. 1, so if Angel wasn't losing his soul, what the heck is going on with him at the beginning of the episode? 2, do we really need to see Cordelia go through that kind of violation? It's pretty clear what that's all about. Does seeing the act actually add anything to the story? Isn't the threat enough? And given its origin, don't the jokes involving her third eye seem kind of messed up? 3, not to be pedantic here, but couldn't Kate's drunk call to Angel constitute as an implied invitation? It was clearly a cry for help. Obviously not what the writers are going for, but if someone wanted to explain it away. So a couple of really, really nice moments. Angel and the host, Angel and Kate at the end, Angel humbling himself before the gang, minus some of the stuff above, and we ended up with, and he gave it a 65 out of 100.
So thank you, Kana. Number 1, it's misdirection, but I think what they're going for is he's having a panic attack. That's how I explain it in my head. I don't think it's directed well, because he probably should stop grasping at his heart so much, because it doesn't beat. And it's clearly supposed to be that you think he's losing his soul. That's why he's grabbing at his heart. And I think he's kind of doing the same thing that he did in Innocence when he lost his soul in Buffy. But I do think you can explain it as he has the epiphany and he has a panic attack, and he's worried that he's going to lose his soul.
Yeah, I think the real problem is just the dramatic, falling down and everything. If he would have immediately fell down, gotten outside, kind of fallen down, and been kind of oh God, oh God, oh God, it would have been a little bit better.
Well, that's what he does. They drag it out.
Right.
He falls down, and Darla tells him it's only hurt for a bit, and then, which suggests that Darla still remembers and still wishes she was human in some way. Or she had died as a human.
Yeah. Leaves a bitterness.
Yeah, but then they go to the credits, which could have been a commercial break. Sometimes if you go to a credits, then you just immediately go back into the episode. But they could have gone on a commercial break and then they come back. But even so, it lasts almost too long that we realize that Angel hasn't lost his soul, and it's too much misdirection. But then I think you can explain it that he's realizing it's a panic attack.
Right.
But
or as the host describes it, he woke up, looked over, and went, "Yeesh."
Yeah. Now, we talked about Cordelia being violated, but I don't I do think that there is some ambiguity. I think he's hit on something, that there is some ambiguity that it could constitute. If you want to see it, I think the writers have it. I think it's there so if you want to see it, that she did invite him over by that phone call, then you can.
Right. That's and it's big enough that the ending still has a nice impact. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that Kate can still say that and then both be kind of like, huh. Like, well, it doesn't necessarily have to sway Angel into having faith.
It doesn't.
But the fact that Kate sees faith, Kate sees faith in that moment, you don't fault her for it.
Yeah, Kate believes it, and it's not confirmed if Angel does.
Right.
So that's what works about it. That Kate sees it, and it makes sense for me that Kate is the type of character who would see that.
Right. And we didn't really talk about the very end moment.
Oh, yeah, we didn't talk about that, which we probably should. I do like that Cordelia immediately doesn't want him there, which is why I think it would be a different episode if she had been the one, if they had worked together to save Wesley.
Right. Like, even the fact that Angel is really contrite in his apology and is trying to be selfless and is just trying to help now.
And I like that they defer. Wesley and Gunn kind of defer to her judgment on it.
Right.
Because they seem... Wesley, in particular, seems pretty impressed by the fact that Angel humbles himself. But then they both sort of turn to Cordelia, and she has the final say on it. And I also really like that he catches her.
Yeah.
Which is a nice moment. Just the fact that he always has and always will care about her. And he will catch her. And he does add something that the other two don't. Just by the fact that he's a vampire, can cross the room and catch her before she falls. And she just lets him drive. It's not like she accepts him. Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's the promise of stories to come. Mm-hmm. Like the fact that, like, he hasn't won their favor in any kind of way.
Yeah.
But he's gotten his foot in the door enough.
Mm-hmm. And then that she's not so repulsed by him that she can be in the same room with him.
Right.
Okay. So I think that's enough for Epiphany for now. We can move on to the rest of our feedback, which is Chris Hart catching up. All right. So first up, she wrote in about the trial, reunion, and redefinition. And she said, these are 3 great episodes. They all flow into one long episode when watching it back to back. My main notes, however, on reunion. Wow. Just wow. 2 issues I had. When Darla's in the dirt, you can see the dirt rise and fall with someone breathing underneath. Took me out of the moment as vamps don't breathe. It just didn't make sense when Darla asked Drew why. Darla hasn't got a soul. Why the freaking hell does she give a rat's ass? She shouldn't give a flying... We know that when Angel turns, he feels free of all his human emotions. What makes Darla different? I was glad to see her appear as a normalist, heartless vamp later on. They should have just done that from the moment she worked up. Seemed a bit odd. So, Kate is half decent here. Pity as she still has to go. Be gone already. My favorite moment by far is Angel slamming the door. Holy crap, he closed the door and locked it. Cannot express emotions I felt seeing that. You don't expect it. You think, here's our hero. He will save them all. Thank goodness he made it in time. And yet, of course he would. He's Angel, but no. We're going to stuff you all up and make them dark. Diabolical. And then bam, you're all fire. Brilliant, just brilliant. Season 3 from memory was always my favorite. However, after this trilogy, it's now very debatable. Let's hope this continues. So thank you, Chris Hart. The Darla breathing thing. Do vampires don't breathe?
Vampires don't breathe.
She's also supposed to be dead at that moment.
Right.
Like, so I didn't bother me because I noticed it too, but it didn't bother me because vampires don't breathe. It bothered me because she's supposed to be dead and she hasn't woken up yet.
It didn't bother me because the human body, like, that's actually really dangerous, putting you in that dirt and, like, covering you. Mm-hmm. It's actually really bad for your body, and it freaks you out and raises your heart rate a lot.
Well, I'm glad that it's actually Julie Benz in the dirt and not A dummy.
Stunt double, whatever.
Yeah.
Or dummy.
There's also a moment when Drusilla and Angel start to fight, and you see there's an overhead view, and Darla's supposed to be in the box, and she's not. The box is just like, well, the box isn't empty, but there's still like the white cloth that was over her face before Angel lifts it up. So there's a bit of continuity issues in that fight scene, but you can see her breathing.
Right. I mostly just try and ignore it. Plus, the fact whenever they wake up, they do all this heavy breathing acting of like,
yeah, so that's my question. Do they not? Does no breath come out, or do they pretend they're breathing? Like, they're not actually breathing because they're dead. So no actual breaths come out, but they think they are. I don't know, whatever.
Or they're waking up, their initial reaction is to try and catch the breath.
Angel,
maybe? I don't know.
Angel breathes. I mean, he has his drama queen gasp and his panic attack.
Yeah, but can you have a panic attack with no breath and no heart?
Well, he has emotions. He might not be having the physical thing of his heart's racing and he's breathing heavy.
Right.
But he has the emotions of panic.
But you have to act breathing. I don't know.
That's impossible. So act panic, but don't do anything that a normal human would do.
Right. I know. That's why it's a really dumb debate.
But we did talk about, I really like that she asked Drusilla why.
Yeah, you got a lot out of that moment.
Because I think it's interesting that there's a transitional period where she's still a human, where she still has human emotions and she's not fully a vampire yet.
Right, and she does seem...
Does that fit with the mythology? Maybe not. But I think that moment works.
I think there are moments in future...
Well, there's moments
flashbacks.
in future Buffy episodes that really screw with vampire mythology in a way that I have a problem with. But in this particular one, I think because she has just woken up and I can buy that there's a transitional period where she still remembers being human or she still thinks she's human. And then she transitions into being a vampire.
Right.
But then there's still some bitterness for her. Because in this episode, there's still bitterness and she still has those human emotions here.
Right. There is a lingering humanity about her. And there's something very different about Darla now than the Darla we saw in those flashbacks.
And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that she was ready to die as a human, and it was taken from her. And she was used when she was humanified.
Right.
When she was a full heart.
Anything else from this comment?
Nope.
All right, so Chris Hart has a little bit more, and she says, I just wanted to comment on the theory of why Wesley is the clear choice of leader. I do not believe it was due to race or gender at all. I believe he was born to be a leader, as he was a watcher. They lead the Slayers, albeit he wasn't a very good one. However, he has shown signs of leadership skills. I think Wes is the most qualified person out of the three for the position. Wes has vast knowledge in the area of supernatural and has shown on various occasions that he will step up to the plate and take action for the safety of others. E.g., when Cordelia is threatened with a gun, he becomes Angel for her safety, and guys will be guys. Just because he can come off as a little goofy and silly, the comedic relief that the show needs, he will do what is needed and be serious when he has to. Although Gunn leads his little group on the streets well, I can hardly see Wes and Cordy taking the same directions as his street kids. I don't believe Tough Love would work as well, and, well, they aren't street kids. That, and also, it was out of his own mouth that this is just a side job, not his main priority. What is his main job again? He was hired to be the muscle in Angel investigations, to help Angel with the fighting, not to lead them after Angel fires them. He is so not qualified for this leadership position. Cordy proves in this episode to why she isn't suitable for the position. Crackers, anyone? They are for everyone to eat, right? She ain't there yet. A little more character development is needed with Cordy before she can or could ever lead and give direction. So thank you, Chris Hart.
So do you agree with that? Because you didn't agree that it was due. She didn't convince me, I will say.
I was I was the one kind of defending Wes. Like, I definitely think he has the skills, but the Cordy point at the end, I don't necessarily agree with, because that's her being comedic relief.
Yeah.
They so easily could have had, like, you can call back to past scenes with Wesley doing pratfalls and things and say he's not qualified.
Yeah. The thing is that when we were talking about Joseph, I think Cordelia would benefit the most from this. And I would like to see her be the leader. And I don't think the fact that she's cracking those jokes, I didn't like those jokes because, one, they weren't very funny. And the other thing is, I think that was a step back for her. And she could easily step up. Now, it makes complete sense to me that Wesley does step up, because that's the kind of character he is. But he wasn't a very good watcher. And I don't like the Watchers in general, but I don't think the Watchers are very good leaders. They boss people. They boss the Slayers around and tell them what to do. But that doesn't mean that they're good leaders. So I don't know what... I don't think there should... Really, if we're talking about ideal situations, I don't think there should be a leader at all. I think they should all support each other, which in more recent episodes they did that. Where it wasn't the Wesley show and Wesley wasn't in charge. They kind of all played off each other's strengths. But it makes sense to me that he steps up, and because that's just who he is, that he steps up when he needs to. But I think they really did stick with it because he is a white guy. Like, to me, I disagree that Gunn probably would have had a different leadership style, and I understand why he doesn't step. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense that he would step up, because he sees it as a side job. But I do think that he has the most. We don't know enough about how he leads, because it doesn't seem that she calls it tough love, which I don't see that in the war zone that he led with tough love. Like, he wasn't brutal to his kids at all. He seemed to be a leader, and he leaded them, but I didn't get tough love from that. But a while since I watched that episode.
Yeah, it has been a while. He did kind of have it. Well, he had
I think he would have had a different leadership style than Wesley.
Right.
But I think he has more successful leadership experience than Wesley does.
Right, and we've seen Gunn have a more direct leadership style. Like, when he was talking to the kids at Ann's shelter.
Yeah.
Like, I think they all have their own qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been interesting it's whoever was taking that role gets the most development.
Yeah. And
it sucks that we don't get that from Cordy or from Gunn.
Because I don't think Wesley needed it as much as they did. I think in Guys Will Be Guys, why they felt the need to create a leader anyway is probably the issue, really. Because if it had just been them working together as a team, I think that you spread it around equally. The way it worked was that Wesley got the most of the development, and then for a few episodes, and then they kind of spread it out, and it didn't have as much of an impact. And Cordelia still had. So Gunn did have this indent line where they really played to Gunn's strengths.
Right.
And Wesley, before that, was stepping up. But then, there is no difference for me between... I think it's true that Gunn would have a different leadership style, and I don't think they would have Wesley and Cordelia would not have responded to that as well, because Gunn's in a position of superiority in his gang. And they are sort of equals. Like, I don't think Wesley really talks down to them.
Yeah, and I think in future episodes, or in episodes that we have seen thus far, like, they've done a better job of having that balance. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't feel like, even though Wesley may have some final says, he's really conferring to all of them, especially when we see, Angel come humble himself, and they all still turn to Cordelia. Like, they still want her input on everything. Like,
no,
he may have some...
They do this was, I don't know, I forget what episode that was. I know it's the crackers, and we see the end of the joke that we have the end of the mystery, but not the middle. I don't remember what episode that was.
It wasn't Blood Money?
Yeah, it was Blood Money. That's it.
Okay.
So in Blood Money, it was still the Wesley Show. For a couple episodes, it's still the Wesley Show, and they're just kind of his sidekicks. And then and it's really only the Thin Dead Line, and then in this episode and in Reprise, that there's more of a team dynamic, that they're all playing, it's a balance. But before, right. I really do think it is the Wesley Show.
Yeah, but they still had little moments sprinkled, like all three of them behind the desk and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we didn't get a lot of the gang by themselves,
and we still might, because Angel's only working for them.
Right. So I still think there is. Yeah, I still hope that there is a weird, like the stories that they can mine from it, the different strengths that they can mine from all the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I hope there still is that balance. It's going to be interesting with Angel now in the mix, so I do want to see where it's going forward.
Even if the team dynamics are the same, the show is still going to be preoccupied with Angel because it's a show.
Right.
So he might be in a subservient role, but I'm not sure how it'll feel watching it, because he'll still be the main character.
Right.
So if they'll really focus on the fact that the other three have power over him or not. Or just be Angel being subservient. I don't know. I don't remember. I really don't remember the rest of the season.
Right.
And we should mention that they've really kind of wrapped up the Darla storyline, which I think was a smart idea, instead of dragging it out. And we still have 6 episodes to go, and I really don't remember what happens next.
Yeah. All right. So you ready to move on to favorite moment and scores?
Yes. All right. So the favorite moment obviously is the All That Matters Is What We Do speech. And
right.
Again, like when we talked about the elevator so much in our regular conversation, we don't really need to talk about it more, I don't think. But it is very popular, and it's popular with reason, because I think it, in a really economical way, describes the show and the beauty of the show.
Right.
And you
summed it up.
And you went with the same thing, so.
I went with the same thing.
Okay.
Right. So scores.
So I gave this a 71, because I enjoy this a lot more than Reprise. And a lot of that has to do with just, it's a lighter episode, so it's more, not that if Reprise had been all at the same dark level, which would not have been sustainable as the last 10 minutes, that would have been amazing, but that's not sustainable. But so it's not just that it's a lighter tone, so I found myself enjoying the episode more than just Reprise, which is a miserable episode intentionally. But it's also, I think it moved a lot better, and I was more interested. And if the Skilosh demons are not, whatever. But I think there was more interesting things going on here in that episode. And I'm comparing them to so much because it is a 2-parter, essentially. And even though Lindsay is insane and way over the top, I still enjoy this episode a lot.
Okay. I didn't enjoy this as much as last episode. I thought it had some really good moments, especially the beginning and the very end, but the whole Skilosh demon thing kind of dragged it down for me, or it didn't have the weight that I wanted from it. And then, of course, we had silliness with Lindsay. I ended up giving this a 67 out of 100.
Okay.
All right. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback, you can do so by commenting on the post at theangelrewatch.wordpress.com.
Or you can send an email to angelrewatch@gmail.com.
Or you can call our voicemail number at 206-203-3276.
Or you can go to Tumblr, which is angelrewatch.tumblr.com, to see all the reviews archived there and the gifts of whatever episode we're watching.
We're available on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. While you're there, leave us a review. It really helps promote the show. You can follow me on Twitter at NerdGuyWilliam.
And you can follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, at The Comforter. And I recently got hired at Buddy TV as a freelance writer. So if you'd like my recaps, I will be doing those for Better Call Saul and iZombie, and probably just there'll probably be some other articles up there by me as well, so if you want to check that out.
Very cool. And next time, we'll be reviewing Disharmony, where Cordelia gets a surprise visit from her high school friend, Harmony.